You are listening to Kayak Adventure Series. Kayak Adventure Series. This is where you choose your own adventure. You want to be offshore. You want to be shallow. You want to go up the creek. You want to have a kayak that is sophisticated. Or a kayak that is simple. You get to choose your own adventure. Oh, looky there. That's a micro bag. I hope you brought the family. This is going to be wild. Hey, this adventure is going to be amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something?
What's up? What's up? What's up? We don't need to hear that again. Hopefully a few people. Look at that. We stalled enough time where about 13, 15 people are on. So perfect. And Jake, was that your idea? What was that plan there? You had all those pictures going?
I was just YOLOing, man. I was just clicking.
Just YOLOing? All right. It sound like me on tournament day most of the time.
I did sneak him in.
You did sneak the Broodmaster in there. I saw that. We'll have to bring that up and talk about that on today's show. We're going to get right into it on today's show, guys. Billy's not here. It's just Jake and I and a bunch of cool guests, and we're going to bring him in, get right into it. There's not a whole lot of news and notes to really go over for the Wisconsin Riverfest. We'll kind of go over some of them in the show because we are talking about Wisconsin Riverfest. So I think we need to just bring him on in. Let's just get right to the meat of this. The first thing we'll do is bring in Brian Coyne, and I need to ask him if it's Coyne or Kanye. Let's bring him in.
We got Josh in chat too.
And and bring in Jeff Little as well. Brian, what's up, man? Hey.
How you doing? It's Coyne. You had it right. Yeah.
Had it right. Coyne. Nice. Yep. So you're going to give us the update from the area because you're local, close enough where you got the weather, water levels, conditions, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I've been checking things out for everybody. So I got all the intel I want to share. I got ready to go.
Perfect. But you're not going to share. You'll share like generic intel. I know you're not going to share too much intel because you're in the tournament. So just we're excited to hear whatever you can share us, though. And then Jeff Little, we're excited to talk a little Northwoods smallmouth. I mean, what's considered Northwoods? Is there like a
I don't think we're far enough, are we?
Depends who you ask. Yeah, if you're from Chicago, then this is Northwoods. But if you're from where I'm from, actually 3 hours north of here, this isn't north.
Yeah, it's not Northwoods.
I always felt like Northwoods had to be well past like La Crosse, like Wisconsin Dells type line, because like so like I went to school up by Chicago, and like going up here where we're going is not that big of a deal.
I think boundary goes to be like a delineation between like how densely packed the mosquitoes are in the air around you. Like the denser the mosquitoes, the more Northwoods you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see them from 100 yards away, then you're in the north.
So are the mosquitoes up there bigger? Are they giant? That's the real question.
Everybody thinks those giant things are mosquitoes. They're not.
Oh,
they're big enough to see coming at you up here for sure.
Yeah. I think you said Wisconsin Dells line, Jake, and our boundary goes above Wisconsin Dells. So technically some people could be fishing Northwoods, some could be fishing Southwoods.
I mean, that's just like my interpretation. However, like I'm sure there's someone who lives in Wisconsin that's like, nah, man, you got to go up to the tippy top up there by, up on the peninsula or whatever. That's Northwoods.
Yeah. Oh, this is okay. Josh Trinko. See, I kind of agree with this a little bit. If the water is tannic, it's Northwoods. I kind of like that.
I think that's a fair point because that means like you don't have as many like, it's more like you're relying on that like decomposing like trees from all the
woods. But what? But why is it? But there's plenty of streams that flow all over the country that are just around woods that aren't tannic. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think it's because like when you go up that north, they have those long winters. It's like something with just the way the cycle of the plant life is.
I buy that.
And that water's clear too, so you're going to see more plant decomposing like in the water. Whereas like I think a lot of lakes around here probably have the same concentration of decomposing plant life, but the water's murkier, so like you just don't notice it. Because Mingo was super clear, but it was like tannic over at Ozarkana. It was like, even though we had all that rain, it was still like, I don't know.
Swampy. That's actually what it probably is. If you think about it, Florida has tannic water like that, and it's a lot of low, just swamps the decomposition.
Because it like filters the water, right?
And up north, you've got all these natural lakes that are doing that, and a lot of low kind of water. Plus, that snow is on there constantly on the land, just decomposing all that stuff, I guess. And then when it melts, it runs out a little black kind of tannic. So
yeah, I mean, that snow is a big factor in the water up north, because like when it melts in the spring, that's what comes down to me and floods our area, is all that snow melting.
Yep. Pete says Texas has bigger mosquitoes. Texas is always going to jump in here and try to play. No, ours are the biggest of everything.
They got that share Lunker mosquito program.
Jeff, how is things at Boondocks, man? I mean, you guys are coming out with all kinds of cool stuff, including, which I'm going to pull it up in a minute, this new
trash bag.
I'll just do this.
Yeah, do it. You can show us a trash can on a kayak, but
it's the dirt bag.
The dirt bag, yes.
It's
a
basic.
Good name.
Yeah, it was Chad Brinkley's idea. But basically, this thing clips onto the back of the tailgate, and your trash is always kind of. It's either, without something like this, it either blows out of the back of your pickup or stinks up the cab. And I don't know. I've enjoyed it, but yesterday I actually went up to Susquehanna and did a Facebook Live cleanup thing with it and showed it to Blue Mountain Outfitters. And I camped with it with my kid 4 days on the Outer Banks, and it is nice, having something there other than like just taking a bag and keeping up with a bag that you throw in the back of the the bed of the truck, which I've lost it. And I've actually watched a bag go out and go all over the highway and been like, man, that just undid all this work I did at the river access. But it's just policing your trash, and they're normally $120. There's an introductory thing for $99. So, but that's one thing that we just released. What I was down in North Carolina working on, which I didn't grab, but is filming, getting some videography of a camp cooker. And it's basically a propane heated wok that like condenses down into something that's like that thick and about, wok size. And we did steak and eggs one morning. We did corn on the cob with it. We did chicken fajitas. Like I'm actually getting ready to. We did breakfast sandwiches, like bagel breakfast sandwiches. It was fun to mess with, and get all the videography from it. But it's going to be called the Skedaddle.
Nice. That's cool, man.
It's part skillet, griddle, whatever, and then part kettle, because you can like it's concave. You know what it's made from? You ever seen the discs that they drag behind a tractor? They just got them all lined up like that. It's one of those repurposed with the bottom like welded and just heat source under it, and the legs are actually the same extrusion as our link extrusion on the landing gear, which is the same as the console. It's it's a lot of familiar hardware as soon as you see it and get your hands on it. And I don't know what I'm going to do it at this Kayak Adventure Series event, but I think I want to maybe at Broodstock when I'm not competing, set it up and cook some stuff for people as they're coming in. Is that a? Dude, I want to go head to head against the food trucks you get to come in here about like brunch.
That's exactly Bashy Brunch. You can cook it up there. I'm texting Kristine right now the link because I don't know if she missed it yesterday or not. Let me see.
Yeah, I just send it from text to email to.
Well, I sent it to Messenger separately for you.
So it definitely seems like Boondocks is coming out with a lot of cool stuff this year. Like, I noticed you guys refreshed your website too, because I was just on there this morning looking at it. I was like, oh, this looks a lot fancier. You guys got a lot more categories, because somebody was asking me about the total package weight of the drifter because they saw those videos I did and they're like, hey, I want to get one of those for the kayak. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that it's like under 20 pounds. And it turns out that it was 18 pounds. So I wasn't too far off. But a lot of people have been impressed with that I've showed it to.
So I stayed in the drifter when we were actually at the I think it's a Hatteras. I think it's a national park, and they have the campgrounds there that you rent, and they had they had a shower room which was not heated showers, but this time of year was actually good, and then the bathrooms, and that's it. But I stayed in the drifter and gave my kid the rooftop tent, the James Baroud, and it's funny. It's even yesterday, like you think of places to use this thing, and I actually I did a shakedown kind of cruise up on the Susquehanna yesterday, kind of freshen up my catch photo release skills. Like I treated it like a tournament, and like, it's been since the KBF Open on Kentucky Lake since I've done a catch photo release bass tournament. I've done a striper one, actually a couple striper ones in between, but I was out there and it was towards the end of the day, and I'm like, man, I wish I could that island right there, like I wish I had it with me, because I'd just stay there, set it up on the island, and catch the morning bite, and I'm like, nah, I'm going home. But doing that sort of island camping is a lot of fun. I'm not a morning person. Like, I didn't even put in until like 1:30 yesterday. I took my time doing stuff at home. I like catching the evening bite, but the morning bite is really good. And I got no problem at all waking up with the birds and just being right there. Like, okay, now I'm a morning person because the river's right there.
Yep. I love it. You put in all the work to load everything up and go fishing and all that stuff. It's just nice when you get a little 2 days out of it. You're just right there and don't have to drive to the river, or lake or wherever. It's awesome. And Jake just did that recently on a trip and won a tournament as well. But hey,
I basically riverside camped in the drifter, woke up at Lines End, started fishing from the bank, right? Because it's legal. It's legal. Fishing from the bank at 6 a.m. Hopped in my kayak, started going, and I got a good night's rest, and I was fishing Lines End, boom, ready to go. I didn't have to drive 3 hours.
Nice.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
very cool.
Awesome. But while Brian's here to give us and he can get back to work and all the other stuff he's probably got going on today. We do want to get the lowdown on the current conditions, and I'll share the map here. So Brian, feel free to tell me to, go wherever I need to go. We can just see it all here. You guys see my screen, I think?
Yep.
Yep.
So let's just talk. I guess we'll just start from the top down. I mean, the main Wisconsin River and right here, right? I mean, it's pretty low. I mean, it sounds like it's pretty low right now.
Yeah, this is kind of our normal, summer, late summer pool here. Things are pretty low. I haven't been on this section of the river in a while, but I've been kind of checking out from Wisconsin Dells down. I know, that's what we call normal summer pool. Pretty low, tough for boats to get through there. They do. I mean, I noticed it. I was out there on Sunday, and, halfway through my float, it started kicking up a little bit. I don't think, in my experience, it's not as frequent as, some of those lakes and reservoirs we'd see down south, especially since haven't had much rain here lately. So I wouldn't expect that to be a significant thing. Anytime you're in the river, you're going to have pretty good current. Anywhere that water does move pretty good, no matter where you are.
When Drew and I went up there, it was around this time. It wasn't, it was July, but it looked like it was low, but like it totally was navigable, but that water was still really moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like even if you got a boat with a big, powerful trolling motor, like it doesn't matter how high it is, it's tough for even a trolling motor to keep up in that current in certain places, but
so you're telling me I need to bring my big motor?
I mean, if you're going to be going upstream against it, there's places where it's pretty strong. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glad you said that, because I might have to make some changes.
Yeah. And one thing I did want to talk about is all the sand and the sand drops and
here's some
sandbars and stuff like that. You're going to see those all over the place. You're going to see them sticking out. You're going to come across places where you're going to have 200 yards of 6-inch deep water. Those are going to be get out and walk places. But what I want to caution people on is where they drop off. That is moving sand and it's not stable. So if you come to that lip, you want to be getting in your kayak immediately, because if you fall off, it could be 8-10 feet deep, and those currents are really, really strong under there. People die every year in this river. Obviously, we got PFDs, but I just want to point that out, that those edges oftentimes are really unstable. So be careful when you're getting back in.
Yeah, right here on this edge.
Yeah.
So what do you think makes that? Because I'm curious. I've seen that too when I looked at it, and I was like, is it just like it's pushing up against the rock bottom, and it's like creating like a wall of sand essentially?
Yeah,
gravity makes that. I mean, it's the same thing. If you go to the beach and you look at a dune,
right?
The wind blows the sand in the peaks. It's just sort of underwater.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that I have experience with a sandy river here in the Piedmont of Virginia. It's the Rappahannock, and I've actually stood on the edge of a sandbar with the river rising, and it just was crushing big fish, just fishing down in that sandbar drop off. But it actually, I anchored up I was using a cataract then, but I anchored up my boat, and I have to, like, over the course of like 90 minutes, I had to step forward like 6 inches or a foot every like 20 minutes, because the sandbars kind of migrate and they move around. And one thing that, this is back when I guided on the Rappahannock and did my kayak fishing classes, it would make a liar out of me all the time, where I'd come around the bend and say, okay, to my student, like, all right, the outside bend, you see where that laydown's coming down? It's going to be about 8 feet deep there. Make sure that you slink down that bank and take a good long cast. And, they do all that, and we pull up and it'd be like 2 feet deep. I just feel like it changes. The sand moves. The sand is always, every high water event, there's some sort of change to a sandy substrate. River like this, it's different. It is different for sure.
I'm trying to think where I thought I had the pins were there. What did I do to get the pins to disappear? But either way, I think our boundary is this on the downstream side. I think it's this Port Andrew right here. So
that looks juicy, dude.
Yeah. So and this is something we should probably talk about now while I got it pulled up. I switched from the satellite to so Brian and I were actually talking yesterday, and according to the way our rules were written, that if it's connected to the river, free flowing connected, not a man-made dam, pond or something, right? That's not free flowing connected because it's dammed up, then it's fair game. Now, when the water gets low, technically, even if you can't float it, you could portage in the Kayak Adventure Series. You could fish it, because technically the water is just, even if it's just a trickle, right, it's still connected. But what I think we're going to try to do with the rule to really help people understand, like any of these areas here, like if you click on satellite, there may not be much water. There is some water, but somewhere this is all connected. This is inside the main river, right? It's part of it. When it's higher, it's got water in it. What we're going to do is say you can access via the main river and portage through the woods. If it's public land, you can do that to get to some of these backwater ponds and lakes. If they even have any fish, who knows? But that's for you guys to figure out. Or you can access them, of course, since they are connected, from a road. Like if this road right here, I don't know what this is right here, so could be blowing up a spot. I have no idea because never been here, this area. But if that road right there, if you can, launch off the side of that road, or right here, I guess there's a road that circles right. Yeah, there's a truck and a little boat ramp right here, So you could access either via road, as long as it's, public access, like our rules state, or if there's just one that's right off the river, like this one here, if you just wanted to portage over this small piece of land right here and get into this, if this was, water filled, let's assume it was, you could fish it by doing it like that, assuming this is public land, which I click over here and I can see that green is the public land, that brighter green there is the public land. So you need to figure that out. Go use Farwide app, which I will share that app in a minute so you can see. But Google Maps will help you because you can see this is the lower Wisconsin State Riverway. So most of this all in green here, the darker green, is public land.
Right.
So, question.
It does. Is there largemouth in this river or just small? There is largemouth.
There are largemouth. Yep. I was gonna say your largemouth.
That looks kind of largemouthy.
The backwater sloughs. And there was one I passed earlier up here that was like a pretty good example. I was going to actually mention. They are. I'll find one here in a minute. It looks pretty.
Someone's
good,
like, no, don't show him my spot.
I know. It's blowing. I'm just like just the spots where. It's not a good example. Anyway, I had one up a minute ago.
I caught a largie out of the Susquehanna yesterday, and I just held it up and looked at him like, you were lost. Find your way home.
I caught one too during the tournament. I don't know if I caught it at Halifax.
Yeah.
Like this right here, this backwater. I can see like largemouth being in that backwater and the smallmouth being in the swifter stuff, Yeah. But you guys will figure that out. Like this right here is a little backwater. You can get up in here. And it looks more largemouthy with vegetation,
I bet
so
you that's
who knows?
Up, though.
It might be dried up. I mean, who knows? You guys will all figure it out. Keep an eye on the comments too, if you don't mind, Jake, and we'll see if we can answer any questions people have.
If you want to go down,
Hickman was asking about a safe area. And honestly, like with us having the Wisconsin River end bounds, if you're not wanting to be adventurous, like the Wisconsin Lake above the dam is honestly going to be pretty safe, especially this time of year. It's going to be cooler. Look, in the north, pleasure boaters, they go a lot later into the season than you'd be surprised because this cold water doesn't bother them. So I'm sure there'll be some people cruising around, but for the most part, that lake's going to be pretty standard, I would imagine. I mean,
so yeah, absolutely. This is so just so you know, guys. And I mean, people are gonna look at all these maps, so we're not blowing anything up. I have no clue if a fish lives here, but let's assume obviously a boat can get underneath this bridge. But if a boat could not, if you find somewhere that a boat cannot get under a bridge and it's a pipe or something that a kayak can't fit under, it doesn't mean the area on the other side is illegal. As long as it's still quote unquote Lake Wisconsin, and let's assume there was a road that pulled in here and a little access point, a way to publicly access this piece of land on the other side of here. I mean, this piece of water on the other side of this causeway, this would still be legal as long as you could get into it, as long as it was still part of Lake Wisconsin or, one of our core bodies of water connected through the pipe, which obviously it is. So keep that in mind too, if you find anything like that. But, what about the weather? How's the weather looking? I mean, anybody looked at that?
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's going to be pretty good. I mean, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are all going to be in the like mid to high 70s with some nighttime temps dipping down in the 50s. But then like Thursday, Friday, Saturday are all going to be similar, with it peaking on Friday. It's going to be partly cloudy with high of 82. But Saturday looks great. It's going to be partly cloudy with a high of 77. So the main fishing day is going to be like pretty moderate, and it's going to be like a south wind at 4 miles an hour. So that should be a pretty solid day on the river.
No, I was really hoping for a hurricane to reach all the way up there. Like
3 in a row, make it
three in a row would just.
So Josh asked, how much float traffic should we expect around the Dells since it's touristy?
Yeah, I was going to mention that about the Dells. And by the way,
I was on the fence with that too.
Yeah.
With the weather being in the 80s, I gotta imagine these Northerners that's not gonna hurt. They're not gonna balk at the cooler weather.
Yeah, but at least summer, like school kids are back in school. You know what I mean? So at least you got that potentially going for you.
So it looks like that was a question for Brian, by the way. I didn't mean to hijack it.
No, you're good. Yeah, so most of your boat traffic is going to stay from like the dam up to just a little bit north of where you are, like into that next little reservoir.
Yeah, right.
So there's a ramp right here, this River Bay camping resort.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty much like from a lot of people, you know, pleasure boaters will launch there, and then there's a tour boat thing in this reservoir. So the traditional Wisconsin dells, like the geological formations, are down in this section here right south of this reservoir.
Right.
So a lot of those touristy boats are going to run through there
and go down here.
Then once you get below the dam, your boat traffic is really only going to run until that big S curve, just down a little bit, right? Like this curve north here, and then this S curve. You start to get some more rocks, and it gets shallow this time of year in there. So like if you rent a boat or anything,
right here,
they don't allow you to go past there. So like that, pretty much that lone rock is about as far as people will take like pleasure boats. And then really because of how low the river is, and you know, most people don't know where the channels are. So, you know, from Lake Wisconsin, you're going to get a lot of that boat traffic and that traditional summer pleasure cruisers. But they're not going to run up typically much past the Highway 94 bridge. So I realistically expect that you're going to see a few guys out fishing in little boats, but you're not going to see a lot of traffic on most of the sections of river.
Right. That's good information to have, knowing where that's going to be. And JT, that just so you know, your safe area, if you're in, you know, quote unquote, I think it's all pretty darn safe this time of year. I mean, even though, you know, it's as good as it's going to get for this river, right? Because it's as low as possible. The current would only be swifter if it was, you know, April, May, June, right? So we're at a good time. But if you're really looking for the quote unquote safest, this whole section here is like a lake, right? And then the other section that we just talked about, that Lake Wisconsin. So
yeah, I mean, they call it a lake, but reality is just where they hold water. You know, it's like, it's not like,
you're not going to realize a lot of current in Lake Wisconsin,
right?
Until you get up like around the first major point into the river. But realistically, like I went out on Sunday, you know, by myself and kind of was like, what's the safety like out here? As long as you're not running into those trees on the side, you don't get a lot of like riffles, you know, where you kind of need to be careful. There are logs out in the middle that you kind of got to watch out for, but I mean, you'll see them coming from a long ways. For the most part, it's as long as you're in your kayak and not up against a tree, you're good to go.
Right. Cool, man. I'm excited. What about water temp? Do you have a approximate water temp for us, or?
I honestly don't know.
We should check the Omnia app.
Yeah,
we should check the Omnia app.
Let's take a look.
Pull that up. Let's get the approximate water temp on that app. That'll help us out. And then while you're doing that, let me know when you got it, Jake, because I'm just looking at this map. The Lemon Weir River is the northernmost boundary on the Lemon Weir. I don't know what bridge that is. It looks like Road H, County Road H on the Lemon Weir. And so we haven't really touched on the smaller rivers, but is there any water in those that's like floatable? You know what I mean? Because there's the Baraboo River right here as well. You think those are even floatable? I mean, how low does it get in these little trips, or do you even know?
So I have not done the Baraboo, but I have fished on the Lemon Weir a couple times. You know, the Baraboo, where it runs into the Wisconsin River, even this time of year, it definitely looks like there's floatable water in there. I think that stays, you know, 4 to 8 feet deep. It's a pretty kind of a narrow, deeper type of a river. To me, it's always a little dirtier and doesn't look as enticing to me. The Lemon Weir looks a lot more fun, and I've had some success there, but it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, there's definitely, you know, the types of things that we're looking for, those deep bends, the laydowns in the water. There's a lot of that in both of those rivers. There's, you know, backwaters, there's grassy areas. So,
we'll see. So
It's looking like water temps, by the way. So this is the Omnia app here. You guys can see you can actually do like a layer of, water average. Now this is historical. And we've had a pretty warm stretch here, but it's saying it's going to be in the low 70s, which is what I expected. So, I would wager that you're going to look at like 71 to like high end, maybe 75 in some spots. And now they don't have anything too far south of the lake on here, which isn't surprising because, but they're saying like the lower section just below the dam, you're looking at like those 70s. So, which is what I would expect for an early September tournament, like 70s, which is great. I mean, those fish are going to be super active. So
I might pull it up on you can actually pull it up on, you can do it on the computer too, like on the.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if I knew the login really quick. And besides that,
yeah, I got mine up right now. But the question I was going to ask Brian before he leaves is tell people a little bit about some of the links that have won tournaments in the area, and then let's extrapolate a little bit and to remind people that that's just a confined area of this boundary. It's not all this water. So, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, we had an extra 4 hours. So we think that whatever these links are, you're going to tell us about, we think this could be one with a little higher, I think. So what do you think based on some historical tournaments?
Yeah, in my experience, this time of year, anything in that 90-inch range is on, is the high end. Those are typically winning tournaments around here. Last year we had a little kayak tournament, and I think somebody came in with about 94.5, which really blew my mind. But it's been a little different year this year. We've had a little more water running through the system. It's been cooler overall than it was last year, especially with the higher water. We're getting in a warm spell now, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if some people find the right types of things. In my experience, you catch a lot of fish. You catch a lot of fish that are 12 to 15 inches, and every 1 out of 7 or so is, above that range. So it's going to be interesting to see if somebody can find 1 or 2 of those, 19, 20-inch class fish on Friday night and then have all day to figure it out on Saturday. We could see the fish certainly are in the system to support, multiple people in that 95 plus range.
I'm curious if we're going to see mini largemouth. I really feel like, especially with the water temps dropping, I feel like those largemouth are going to be a lot more active after a long, hot summer. So
I'll tell you, there was one of the craziest nights we had out here was late August, and it was really in a hot spell, and we were fishing smallmouth stuff and found a school of largemouth that had moved out, to try to get away from some of that heat. And it was, unreal. The group of smallmouth and largemouth and how, active they were, won us the tournament. So there's big largemouth in the system as well. And some of those little offshoots, like you were talking about, definitely hold good largemouth. And I don't think you're going to find 90 inches of largemouth, but if you can find 2 good ones, that could be really, really helpful.
How often do you guys catch largemouth over 20? Like, do you see 21s and 22s up there?
No, I've never seen it. I think the biggest one I've ever seen come out of there was a 20 and a quarter, 20 and a half.
That seems on par.
It happens a couple times a summer. We fish a league down here a couple times a year. You'll see those big largemouth come in.
But smallmouth, you see 20.
Yeah.
21.
Typically that 19 plus is what it takes to win. It's a single big bass thing. So typically in that 19 plus range is what it takes to win.
Okay, so it'll be interesting to see how the largemouth, smallmouth play for sure. I got the app up there with the water temps, and again, here's my thing with water temp. All I care about, it seems so simple. I try to it's not this simple, but in my brain it is. Either they're aggressive and hitting top water, or they're not. That's it. Or they're not. So either I fish fast, or I just fish slow roll the spinnerbait instead of burning it. You know what I mean? So once it's at the point where they will hit top water, I don't care what the temperature is. It doesn't matter to me. It's all the same. It doesn't matter if it's 63 or 93. It doesn't matter. Basically, so I try to simplify it, and we're well above obviously top water and very fast fishing lifestyle. So
Drew's theory to me is like so crazy, but like I would say, like, if you had to sum up Drew's fishing style, it's like he's gonna force feed them the bait that he wants them to eat. Like he's gonna make them eat it. It's like, you're gonna eat this plopper. It's coming right in front of you. You have no choice. So
I try. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, that's the Omni app. You can also check out the wind layers, the other things. You can get everything on your Navionics. This is the so
I think they're rolling out a new water temp thing too. I don't know if it's on
water clarity.
Last fall when I was using it, and actually when I was filming you, Drew, on the Susquehanna, it seemed like it was real-time water temp, not this historical thing. I don't care what it
I think they sent it back to beta because they were having issues. So it's coming.
And it's right
soon.
there.
It was
screen.
Real time. Okay, I couldn't find that a second ago. That's useful because what it's going to tell you is, say you're leaving on this body of water. If you look at say a northwest wind, go back into where you were.
Go back in.
Just leave it there.
Right.
But scoot up north a little bit. So that left shoreline, especially up in that little corner, stop moving it, Drew.
Yep.
When you have a northwest wind, that upper left corner in that little bay in the center is going to keep its temperature if it has been warm, whereas that shoreline on the right side is going to be colder with that northwest wind. So just understanding that, whatever cool off or warm up, and it's the reverse in spring in terms of like that sun, warming up the shallows. But to me, it was useful. Like if I'm getting bit in water that's cooled off a lot, that has that wind blowing into it, that means something. And maybe it's not just the cool, it's the agitation of water. But I don't know. Like if a lot of the fish, if it cools off too much and a lot of fish are just slowed down to the point, like, all right, let's switch to the bank that still has that warmth, and maybe we can, Jake talked about, Drew, force feeding them power fishing presentations, or maybe you fish the cool side and you do finesse stuff. I don't know. It all factors in, but it
does. That
water temp thing is
air temp. It's pretty cool to have. I mean, just to give you a gauge. But I mean, look at this. You got radar on this app too. I mean, you can pull in and see where the rain is up north there. There's not a lot in the area, but it's just cool that it's got everything on it on one app. So I don't know where I lost my spot, but there we are. So that's cool. You can change. You can see storm cells, lightning, air temperature, wind, water clarity, all this stuff. You can get your Navionics on there. So very cool. We'll stop sharing this now. And actually, I will go to Omnia Fishing's site.
But we have a code too if you guys want to sign up. Where is that? We got it somewhere.
Check this out. We have a code. We also have a giveaway for Omnia Fishing to talk about right here. Rig Your Kayak giveaway. So you can click on it. You got, looks like a ton of stuff. They sent me the list, and you can see it all pictured there of all the stuff we're giving away.
Who's that guy?
I don't know. I don't know who they or why they used me there, but they called me and said, hey, we want to use you on the face of this giveaway. So we're talking about it today. You guys get registered for this. The grand prize winner is going to get 1 year of Omnia Pro, Hummingbird Helix 7, Catch Carbonate board, Sunline braid. I had to tell them to kick in my braid. I had to, and I love the carbonate board, the lightweight carbonate board that Catch makes. The Firefly Marine Diamond Stern Light, Firefly Marine Shore Stacker, a Maluna 22 cooler, Yak Attack Fish Finder mount, Blue Storm PFD, 1 yak rod, and 1 Powerhouse Lithium deep cycle battery. So that's a lot of stuff.
Good, guys. You're good.
So anyway, all you gotta do is right here, just enter this, print this physical form, or enter if you're not to create an account, you got to create an account, physical, blah blah blah. So I think you just have to read this page. You'll learn about how to enter it. You just enter it right here, click on enter giveaway. There it is. I knew it was somewhere. And then you just put in a little bit of information, and you are entered to win all that stuff. So easy enough. Thanks to the folks at Omnia Fishing. And also, before we get into let Brian go and
There's
talk
the link,
Jeff a little
by
bit
the way.
more,
I just
Brian,
put
stick
it in
around
the
as
chat.
long as you want. Yeah, you got the link. Thanks. Stick around as long as you want. I know you may have other stuff to do. Who knows? But I do want to say a big shout out to Raccoon Creek Outfitters, who is the sponsor of the live streams every Wednesday. So thanks to folks at Raccoon Creek. I know Dustin and his gang, he always has a house rented. A bunch of folks will be coming with him as always to fish the Wisconsin Riverfest. So if you never met Dustin in person, he will be there. So good times. Thanks to Raccoon Creek Outfitters in Ohio. All right, Brian, you got anything else you want to hit on before we let you go about the event? What about the Badger State Championship? We didn't hit on that yet. I know we talked about it on the phone.
Yeah,
I got a question though. Yeah. Like, and this, I don't know. Hopefully, you got a good number of people that are traveling from out of area into this to fish. Like the bugs, man. Like, what is your what do you do? Like, I'm big on the permethrin on my clothes, but like in terms of topical on your skin and hats, and I don't know. Is it a big deal? Because I got destroyed in Missouri filming Tim Perkins. Like the only thing that I had exposed was my ankles, and Tim looked at me at the end of the day. He was like, "Man, you look like somebody like pulled the trigger on a shotgun at your ankles because all the little red dots on my ankles from mosquito bites." What's the bug regimen up there? What do you do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I went out, we did a float on the river with my brother-in-law a couple of weeks ago, and I told him, don't worry, once we get on the water, you'll be fine. And that was not the case. It was one of the worst days I've had in a while. No, your ankles. But my thing is cover up all your skin, get clothing over everything. Try to reduce that skin area that they can get to. And then it's that heavy DEET or, whatever. It usually works, pretty well, but you're definitely going to want to cover as much of your skin as you can and have some bug spray with you out there because, you're jumping in the water and stuff. You wash that stuff off. You want to reapply that stuff. It definitely, as soon as you get around any trees or anything, you stop for a second, they're on you. So flies are another thing that you get occasionally up here. Those little black biting flies.
The buffalo gnats, right?
Yeah. So
they're really bad.
Yeah. For those, it's, if you just can cover your skin up and prevent them from getting on you, then it's fine. But the mosquitoes will go right through your clothes.
So one of the things that people are getting up here, like from basically where I am all the way up north of Chicago kind of area, like that range, is they're getting those little bumps that you were talking about. They're actually a mite from all the cicadas hatching. And they feed on the cicadas. And since we had so many cicadas, these mites are flourishing, right? And they last all year. And cicadas aren't just the ones we saw early in the year. They go all year. So these mites are flourishing, but they actually bite you and they leave these little tiny bumps on you and like rashes. So that's something to look out for too. I was talking to someone recently that had like, oh, my leg was covered in them. I was like, yeah, it's those mites, the cicada mites. And you can Google it and get an idea of what they are. But from what I understand, they don't like the pyrethrin or whatever, the stuff that you were talking about earlier that kills them.
I like Dustin's solution.
I
won't be around my wife for a week, so she won't complain. You stink.
My uncle used to have a theory. Now, he was a heavy smoker back when I was a kid, and we would go fishing, and he had a theory that if he smoked, it would keep the bugs away. Like if he would he called it like his anti-mosquito thing, and he would just smoke a cigarette constantly when mosquitoes were bad.
Yeah, I don't like the trade-off.
Well, and then you can't
the trade-off is not.
Lung cancer or mosquito bites. Take your pick.
Choose the mosquito bites. No, because I have chronic Lyme, and I really want to keep the ticks off me. I'm big on the permethrin on my clothing, but you do not want permethrin on your skin because it's toxic stuff, and it works. It works on your clothing. Usually I'll just take my river pants or my shirt and like hang it up and just spray it down and let it dry. And it's effective, but exposed areas like your neck and wrists and ankles. You need something that'll. I know Chris Funk is big on I think it's Pickardin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. PICARDIN.
I've used that as well. I tend to treat my clothes like every 4 to 5 trips, even when I kayak, because you can get ticks from the trees kayaking. I've had it happen. So
have you ever tried, that 40-year guy on Instagram for 40 years or whatever? If you follow him, he actually showed one that was you put vanilla in a spray bottle, and maybe it was mixed with water a little bit. I think it was just vanilla and sprayed on you. And he went outside and mosquitoes didn't go on him. He was like, because his whole
can it be fake vanilla?
I don't know. Probably not. It's got to be the real thing, I'm sure.
Man, the real stuff is expensive. That's
you got to spend $75 on it,
but it could be vanilla extract.
You'll be
or
smelling
something.
good.
I don't know, but anyway, his whole shtick is for 40 years. Like, you telling me for 40 years I could have done this, and then he shows the hack. He's basically a hack Instagram guy. Hundreds of thousands, who knows, millions of followers. Anyway, that was one of his that seemed to work. But what were we saying, Jake?
I was going to say the ticks are pretty bad up there this year because they had such a warm year. And it's something that I am, especially if you're doing like a lot of dragging on some of the smaller rivers. It's something that I am concerned about. I've had Lyme disease twice. And the reason why I can't eat meat is because of ticks. A lot of people don't know that, but ticks are not my friend. I don't like them. So I take that stuff pretty seriously.
Seen the duct tape trick?
No.
To pull them out?
Put duct tape around like your knees and but backwards. And then, duct tape your pant legs down. And then when they try to crawl up, they get stuck on the duct tape. Can't get any further than that.
That's cool.
Well, where I got tagged, where I got bit, where I know, and it was one of those hindsight, like I ignored it thinking it was poison ivy, but it was on the bony part of the outside and almost tucked underneath that bump on your ankle, like outside where you just,
Yeah.
I had Lyme once, like 13 years ago, and then right when we moved back to Illinois, I got it again from both deer ticks both times.
Yeah.
But if you catch it early enough, you just take antibiotics for 2 weeks and it's not a big deal. But if you miss it, then it becomes more of a problem. So
that's my life. Like, I'm not on the antibiotics right now, and like symptoms are piling up, and I've been off them for, I don't know, 7 weeks. And if I'm not on them, eventually it's coming back. So,
right.
But yeah, so far, we're eating garlic and spraying ourselves with vanilla. We're just
vanilla.
I'm gonna try the vanilla.
Smell interesting. We're gonna roll into the theater and they're just like,
we're all just gonna smell.
Where were these guys before they came here? Like, what is this?
My wife might actually think I smell good for once after I've been fishing. But Brian, I do want to touch on that because the Badger State Championship, I think is there 50 that qualify for that.
Yeah,
I think there are 50. So that's happening on Saturday and Sunday. So the first day of the Kayak Adventure Series, we'll have some anglers fishing both, which will be interesting because so just keep in mind, everyone, if you see somebody out on the water fishing on Friday morning, it might be somebody that is not in the Kayak Adventure Series, but only in the championship. However, I really hope there's not the case, and they would say, man, this event, there's only 6 of these around the entire country. It's in my home state. It's obviously a very big national trail, payout, GoPro, Toyota, all these big names. I'd rather hopefully see them pre-fishing just during their 4 hours on Friday that the Kayak Adventure Series is, and then fishing Saturday, and then of course continuing on Sunday for their Saturday Sunday total for that championship. And then during their pre-fishing on Friday, guess what? You catch that 1920, it'll count for something, not just give you a clue about what could be there for Saturday Sunday. So hopefully that'll be the case. But what are you thinking about that event, and just any thoughts on that? Because you guys are local. You don't remember, guys, you can pre-fish this weekend. If you're local, you can go pre-fish legally this weekend. This week you get 4 days within a 2-week window, which has already started. So it was last Friday. So you guys, if you're local enough to do that, go pre-fish now. That way you can not have to, and then, that way you don't have to pre-fish Friday morning. You can come to the Bash U brunch where, as Kristine joins us here, From the water, you can hear a seminar from Kristine, from Jeff, Josh Shrinko, myself. But Kristine, what's up? Can you hear us? All right, we can see you.
Muted. You got to unmute her.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we can see and hear you. We were just letting Brian go, but we'll get to you in a second. We're just saying bye to Brian. But he was going to tell us about the Badger State Championship. It's the Wisconsin State Championship where all the clubs come together and have their championship, which is held in conjunction with our event. So it's going to be pretty sweet having those guys there and being able to crown their champion actually the day after on Sunday. But any other thoughts on that, Brian, and how that's going to kind of interact with our event?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly adds a pretty cool aspect to it. I just, I would just encourage people, like you say, I think this is a pretty unique opportunity to, interact with some people that aren't normally in Wisconsin, and cool opportunity, like you say, for a little more prize money and that type of thing. My thought is, the Wisconsin River is just like any river you're fishing for smallmouth anywhere. There's not, these fish are aggressive. I think, take the time Friday morning, drive around and look at some things without making a cast, and then spend your time on the water on Friday afternoon and make it worth something. That's how I'm approaching the day. I think there's a lot of things you can learn just by driving around and seeing what water looks like and how deep it is and things like how fast it's moving, and, spend a few hours Friday afternoon actually on the water, checking out the type of structure and that type of stuff. But
and practice this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Monday's Labor Day. Practice on those days, and then
even if you're further north, like there's so much territory, you shouldn't have to drive too far to get on the water, and check it out. So
not at all. So, well, man, great updates. Thanks for your time and giving us the local report. We appreciate it. We'll see you at the event. See you at the opening ceremonies on Thursday.
Safe travels up here.
All right, see you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Cool. Well, we got some signal from Kristine, so we'll see how she's doing. She's further north, out of bounds, is what she said. So she's having a little fun fishing, and she was punching up some smallmouth yesterday. She was punching smallmouth up, which is cool, in eelgrass. So there she is. So while we got you, let's hang out. How's the Northwoods smallmouth fishing going?
It's been so good. Yeah, we're way, way, way out of bounds right now on the Wisconsin River up here. But I mean, as you guys can see, this is kind of, we got some shoals, got some boulders, got good flow, super scenic, super remote. And Jordan and I are just having a freaking great time fun fishing up here.
Yeah, it's unreal how these fish, they're just so unpressured. And like, I hate to say dumb because I don't want to make it sound like this is easy, because it's still not. To get 5, 19, 20-inch fish is still not easy. But are there any differences you've noticed? And Jeff can chime in on this too. After you, Kristine, what differences in the Northwoods style of smallmouth and just how you approach them that's different than like Tennessee River or other fisheries with smallies?
Honestly, like the Wisconsin River in some capacity reminds me a lot of the Susky, and the terms that like it doesn't have to be a finesse deal. Like you really can power fish them. It has, areas they set up very similar, big pockets of slack water. You can catch them in current too, but honestly, like a lot of the water is really shallow. It's really skinny. There's a lot of good cover. There's, a lot of laydowns. It reminds me a lot of kind of how the Susky fish is. I mean, I'm sure you can catch them just as good, throw in the dice or, little finesse jigs or little wacky rigs. But the cool thing is you don't have to. And that's what I really like. Like you said, I don't think these rivers get a ton of pressure up here. So the fish definitely seem a little less educated. Like so we've been punching up like 20 pounds every time we come out here. So it's pretty silly. It's pretty silly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jeff, any thoughts on any differences you've ever noticed when you go that far north for how you approach the fishery?
When I'm new to any fishery, the first thing I'm trying to figure out is what's our forage base? What are these fish eating? Like what is out there in, for instance, the Susquehanna is such a craw based, forage base. And I'm not saying that it's single faceted in that regard, but if you don't have something crawl related, in your box, you're missing out on some good fishing. And same thing up north is if you can figure out what bait fish are they looking to eat. And there's different stuff and different types of, whether it's the shad or the Cisco or just, some of our rivers, it's all about the Mad Toms. And I don't know, like you have to figure that out. And the wild card on this is that it's a sandy bottom river. And
yeah,
I don't know. The other thing is when you look at what gradient you're working with and how much flow, that's pretty important. I know that, what Brian was saying, there's not like the big, what I would call ledge drops or riffles or what, shoals or whatever. I don't know, like sometimes it's deceptive how much current is actually there because you're not seeing that white water. That was certainly the case in two of the, the flows that I fished earlier this year in that part of the country, that actually 3 different ones where it was deceptively swift, and really figuring out how your fish up there relate to that current and what represents a good current break that they want to get behind. If it is heavier flow, it doesn't sound like this time of year it's going to be real pushy. Just because, in the springtime, you still have all that latent water reservoir in the, from all the snow melt, which is just pumping in. By this time of year, there's less water pumped in. So it'll set up a little different, but yeah, for Kristine to say it's like the Susquehanna, I'm like, cool.
Yeah, it's a good compliment for sure. And you keep fishing, Kristine. If you catch one, you just let us know and we'll watch.
Yeah, I said we're getting up to some of the good stuff. I should catch one here. I mean, a little bit different conditions. It was in the 90s, the first couple days we were up here, and it finally hit, high of like 71, getting lows into the upper 50s, which I think we desperately need it, at least for a lot of the lake fish. We're going to see what it does to the bite, but it should make it good. Yeah. It's definitely more enjoyable to be fishing in a long sleeve hoodie than tank tops and get sunburn.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And the thing that'll be different is the upper Wisconsin River, like you said, a little bit more boulders and some shoals. So we really won't have much, if maybe not even any in the boundary that we have like that. There could be some of the tributaries that have some, who knows, but that'll be a little bit different to see how you approach a sandy kind of like almost like lacrosse in some senses, but not really. There's a lot of sand in lacrosse. Like, well, I guess it is like the main river in lacrosse where the sand drop-offs are.
The thing is like, there's a lot of like rusty crayfish here, but honestly, in those really clear sand-based rivers that are super shallow, it provides, depending on the conditions, I mean, especially if the sun's way up in the sky, I'll throw a top. I mean, I feel like I could throw a topwater all day in those situations.
Yeah.
And and if you can make good casts, that's really all it's about, is putting your bait in a certain area where those fish are going to set up with those very clear, very shallow conditions with limited current. And that's, I think you could throw a topwater all dang day. And situation,
Drew's like, sign me up.
Yeah, really. I'll get up there and do a little fishing on early in the week just to kind of mess around and get some stuff. And I want to see if they'll hold on the backside of the sandbars.
I noticed a lot of sandbar. It looks like sandbar drops in that lower section. Like I've actually ski fished one time way down there which will be like inbounds, and it was there's a lot of sandbar drops that I didn't ever smallmouth fish them, but I got lacrosse sets up that way where those really do play. So I'm kind of curious to see if it does fish like that.
Yeah.
Where those sandbar drops will be I'm sure they will.
There's a ton of them. So the question is, how do you find? It's like fishing grass, or lily pads, it's like randomly you just get into the area where they're at, and it's like so randomly maybe you stumble on the right drop off where they are, but they're not on every drop off. They're not on every log, not behind every boulder, and they move. Yeah, it's gonna be tricky to see.
Smallmouth move? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you keep fishing. We'll keep some conversation going while you focus on that, because we'd love to see you catch one before we get off, if you can. But we're excited to have you at the event and doing a seminar on our Bash You Brunch segment, which we'll show people here in just a second. We'll share the screen and show people how they can sign up for that and be a part of that, where they get breakfast and get to hang out and learn some cool stuff from you guys. So
that sounds
sure
good.
I'll
try to catch one here.
Yeah, try to do that. What other topics do you guys want to hit on, Jeff or Jake, while I pull up that screen and show people how
I've
to sign
got
up?
something for you guys. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
You got something to share?
40 years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what?
They use.
So he's taking
for like 10 to 15
vanilla
drops of this.
Extracts, I think.
and he's
Yeah.
pouring it in. It's whole
A
bottle.
little shake. Oh wow, I smell good. Smell like I just come out of the bakery.
All right.
Go outside for a little while, see what happens. See if I get bit.
So I'm fast forwarding because I won't watch it all.
I didn't get bit.
Now this
At
is
all.
not a
Normally
very
out here for this
scientific
amount of
example.
time,
Yeah.
This
I'd probably be
video
bit 10 to
shows
15
fucking-
times. I'll be smacking.
30 minutes.
I think it's calls for a cannonball.
All right. Well, we're not going to watch him jump in the water. But for those who were a lot of people were talking about it in the comments. So I looked it up, and all he did was pour it into the water, shake it up, and spray it all over him. So might be
That's
worth
it,
trying.
I'm game. For sure. I'll mute Kristine. If you see her catch a fish, Kristine, if you catch a fish, it's got one. Oh, cool. Yeah, let's see it.
Hold that up, Jordan. That's a nice one.
Nice. Jordan,
There
what's
you go.
up?
A little butterball.
He'll be out there at the Wisconsin Riverfest as well. So
Yeah, I'll
That's
mute
awesome.
my thing here.
no, you're good. Yeah, and we'll when we see you catch a fish, or you unmute yourself, or we'll unmute you, and
Okay.
just in case there's any like noises from banging around or anything.
Deal.
So I'll share the screen because this is important for you guys to know. A lot of people, this could be their first Kayak Adventure Series event. So all you do is go to the website. Everything's on the website. I don't mind answering questions. Amanda doesn't mind, Jake, whoever, but I promise you it's all on this website, on this page. And there's not information on Tourney X. It's all just right here on this one page. So all your event information is here. All the divisions you can register, the team, the individual, which you can fish both. Feel Free Kayaks is donating a kayak that we're going to raffle off for pediatric cancer, which is awesome. So thank you to Feel Free. We're going to have members of their company there as well. Mike McKinstry will be there as well, represents Feel Free Kayaks, the Bass Squatch Hunter. And then you can see here the Bass U Brunch on, you can just click register now, and it'll suggest a $30 fee or whatever contribution to the seminars and the breakfast and all that. You can change it. We don't want that to become a barrier. So if you only got $1 or $5 or $10, just change it to whatever you want. If you feel free to change it to $50 or $100 if you had a great time and learned a lot and thought it was worth it. We had some people do that. We appreciate that as well. So this pretty much explains everything. Holiday Inn Express and Mary Mac's Campground are our quote unquote official hotel and campground partners. And yeah, it should be a good time, guys. I cannot wait to see you guys there. And yeah, this is the page. So all the information is here. And I cannot wait, guys. Here's something I'll mention right now. Vintage Brewing right here is going to be the center point of a lot of where this stuff goes down. But I will tell you that, I mean, it's gigantic. It's brand new. Jake, you and I were there. And on
Super nice.
Thursday, what's that?
It's super nice.
It's super nice, right on the river. And
Yeah.
on
Literally
Thursday,
could pull up to the bank and go up there.
Yep. Our opening ceremonies on Thursday is the first NFL game of the season. So after we get done doing our thing and we kind of wrap up around 7:00, checking people in, getting them registered, all that good stuff, we will stick around there and watch that game, whoever wants to stick around, because, hey, here's the beauty. You do not have to be up any crazy early time the next day. You can just sleep in and come to that Bass U Brunch on Friday so you can hang out in fellowship, which is a big part of the Kayak Adventure Series, just the fellowship we have. And I'm going to watch that game. I can't wait to start the NFL season and, get some football going. So it should be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. This
yeah.
has been on my calendar since last year, literally like a year ago. I've been really excited for this one. And
the bowling alley next door, we're going to have our after party there. The pizzeria, the Riv Pizzeria and bowling alley. That's going to be fun. You can get any bait and tackle at Wilderness
That's what I was
Fishing
about
Game.
to say.
Yeah, Wilderness Fishing Game, which is right there too.
It is literally like everything's right there. You can get And it's not like it's just like a little bitty tackle shop. Legitimately, low end all the way up to the highest end. Like you can go in there and buy a $600 mega bass rod if you wanted to. Yep. They got it all.
Yep.
So
it's a cool spot. That's where our Bass U brunch is, by the way. The Bass U brunch is there. So obviously that's before, you know, you get on the water that first day. So you can stock up there last minute if you need to. But Jeff, do you know, I mean, I can't remember what we put down there on the thing for you to talk about, but do you remember what you were talking about? The short, you and I were talking about, I think we're going to do our top 3. You and I were going to share our top 3, like smallmouth techniques, tactics, like baits basically, and how to fish them. So give you and I 3 a piece and we'll knock it out. And you and I may have some similar ones, some same ones. So we might have to like say, I want to take this one, you take that one. So
Drew's going to be like,
I tend to have more of the finesse baits as a follow-up to, you know, to the power fishing. So I'm going to fill in those gaps while you,
all right.
I mean, and I'm not going to say I won't do, you know, some power fishing presentations, but I think like yesterday on the Susquehanna, like the top water was getting attention, but the follow-up soft plastic was catching the fish with the exception of one good one at the end of the day. Yeah. They were slashing at it, but what did the work was that second throw back in after you get them teased up. That was kind of critical. And being able to just to dial things back, you know, and recognize, hey, I'm not getting the bites that I need, or there's something not quite right with this power fishing presentation. Let's dial back the progression of aggression to, you know, what's going to make them eat. And sometimes within, you know, I don't know, I'll come up with something, but you know, what I would want to talk about is baits that you downshift to off of power fishing when you really need to. And I think I've filmed so many people that like that when they get their limit, like they're force feeding something and it's not working, and just to kind of calm their brain, they downshift and then boom, they've got 5. All right, let's go back to hunting for bigs. And if nothing else, it calms their brain. It puts them back into this realm of comfort of like, all right, I don't have the anxiety of, and which I had yesterday. Like I treated yesterday as a tournament kind of shakedown and legitimately measuring every fish and taking photos. That was the big thing is practicing that part of it. But like an hour and 45 minutes in, I had 1 fish on the board. It was a good fish, but like it took downshifting and really finding a place that like they were tugging at the tail of the trailer of the jackhammer, but not eating it. I went back in with a 5-inch scented jerk shad and just caught every fish from that eddy. So that downshift is critical.
A lot of logic in like what I call a 1-2 punch. And I don't want to like spoil this whole seminar, but this is just my opinion. I'm not in it, so it won't even matter. The 1-2 punch where you've got the Drew style baits and then you maybe have like the finesse style baits where like if they're biting one thing, maybe you'll pick up a stray fish, but I like to have that follow-up bait. Yep. And I did a video on this where it's like I've been using that new TRD fatties and I just weedless Texas rig it. And if I miss a fish on topwater, I'm not throwing back in there with topwater. I'm throwing in there with that. And I would say 80% of the time I catch that fish.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like if they're there, they've shown themselves, right? You know they're there. If you're fast enough, you get that TRD fatty in there, it drops straight to the bottom. They see that thing come
fast and accurate is the key though.
Yeah.
And a lot of times to, you know, I had it in a recent video, fishing on the Juniata, and the one that as soon as we're done with this that I'm editing, which is yesterday's video, the first fish that was on the board blew up on that billy goat. And did not like really moved a lot of water. I'm like, that's a good fish. And I just take the rod, put it down, reach down, picked up the 5-inch scented jerk shad, threw it in there, open bailed, put that rod down, picked up the other one, but I've delivered it that fast. That's the key.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, if you're like, let me reel this all the way in, reach down, All right, let me grab this rod that's back here. Oh, wait, it's not on. I got to take it off the keep. No. It has to be ready with the right length of line hanging from the tip to like pick it up accurately. Bam, put it right there where they're teased up. That's
exactly.
The skill. And that's right. A procedure. You have to have your stuff ready for that. So that's actually
got to be in a holster. Yeah, it's like a holster. It's ready to roll. Boom. You know, those taco style, you know, the Yak Attack, I think they're called padlock, you know, paddle holder, rod holder, net holder. They're right in the shoulder, right behind you. That's kind of what that's for, because the compression of your rod holds it in there. It doesn't need the bungee. So I always had that as like, okay, in my mind when I was designing that kayak, this is going to be my holster. I'm going to keep my follow-up bait that I don't throw. I may not be throwing it all the time, so I don't need it in front of me. It's one of my baits I'm using. It's like my follow-up for topwaters is right there. And literally, I kind of do very similar but opposite. I with straight braid, which I'm always throwing, rip it back like a fly rod. Just jerk it out of there quick once they are done hitting it. And then it's just back behind me in the water. You know what I mean? Like laying there in my rod, and then boom, I pick up the other one and go. So it's the same thing, but I just quickly rip that one out of there. But
Drew's crazy because his follow-up bait is sometimes a topwater. Like that story you guys told about when he's fishing in Michigan. He's like, yeah, I missed him on the spinner bait, and then I just followed it up with the topwater. I'm like,
well, that's also just what I had, because I'm not prepared. I wasn't fishing a tournament, wasn't prepared. I just was like,
but you caught the fish though. You caught the fish.
I did, but it's not the way I would have preferred to do it. But I will say this though, Jeff, and we're going to get into this at the seminar. Even like having that jerk shad or streaks, the Z-Man streaks, the 5-inch, which is what I used to use a lot more originally. But you and I figured out the same thing, because you called me when you started fishing that 7-inch jerk shad, which I was more throwing the streaks, that 5-inch size. But you called me and you were explaining how you were fishing it, you know, burning it, you know, on the surface and stuff, and then you could kill it. And it was funny because I was like, dude, I've been fishing that streaks that way from when I was catching smallmouth in the Broad River in South Carolina, where I live there. And the way I learned how to catch them, and that most people back in the, you know, until I think more recent times, they see a fluke style bait and it's a twitch. It's just killing it, let it swirl and twitch. It's not a burning it as fast as they can like we're doing, right? A lot of times. We don't always do that, but certainly it works. But anyway, my point is the way I learned how to catch fish that way and use it was I was fishing in the Broad River and I was throwing a spook, and I would bring the bait, you know, in about halfway through the cast. I was like, all right, I'm done with this cast. I'm going to go make the next cast. And I would just be reeling it in, and the spook is moving across the current seam. It's not doing the twitch. I'm not working it. I'm just burning it in. And all of a sudden I would get smallmouth start charging it. And I was like, I'm just burning a spook back in as fast as I can. So you could still use the spook, but the soft plastic jerk bait, the weight with a weighted, because Z-Man is buoyant, the Elastic. So it was nice because you could put a little belly weight on it, just launch it out there and just burn it and just pop it and skip it as fast as you could, just like that spook was doing. And they started smashing it. And it became one of my little hidden techniques in my arsenal for a long time, until Jeff Little decides to expose it to the world. But that's cool, whatever. It's out there now and it does work. And I look at my last video on YouTube or on Instagram from the Bassmaster. That's what he does. That's what he'll do at the Bass U brunch. And I will too at that, you know, brunch. But the my last Bassmaster tournament that I did that short video, that little recap video on, I show some B-roll of some of my fish catches on that 7-inch jerk shad, which I do like that a little bit better, the size and the caliber fish it calls up.
Yeah, that was the one I was using. I think I showed that clip last week. The 7.
Yeah, that's right.
Drew style.
The double frog hook that I rig it with. Yeah, I'll talk about that at the seminar. So
I wanted to talk about it, but I was like, yeah, I can't do that. That's Drew's technique. It's got to be his.
So we'll talk about it at the seminar. We'll show it how I rig it.
Talk about it, Jake. Just say, hey, Drew showed me this.
Yeah. We'll do it in person at the Bass U brunch on Friday, and I'll bring the hooks if you guys want to see it. It's a modified, different hook that's not a, you know, kind of made for this. It's made for a frog, but
and they don't get off. They don't get off.
They do not come off. Man.
Like, I mean, if you saw that clip last week, like I had my rod like way up here and the fish is like, ah, and it's like they're not getting off once you hook them. So.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, lost a couple that could have won that Susquehanna tournament if they didn't come off. But there were reasons why, you know, it happened that way. I had some slack over a limb and a tree, so it wasn't the best hook set, and it came towards me. But yeah, most of the time they're not coming off for sure. So Incidentally, guys,
the look of the Susquehanna post Debbie, there's all kinds of new stuff like on these islands, like big trees, big log jams, and like everything is freshly rearranged thanks to Debbie. Like it's wild what that river, how it changes from a high water event like that. And it was somewhat treacherous in places from just the log jams they're now unsteady. They're the places you want to skip soft plastics into, but the water's slamming you into them. It's and I think Brian talked about this a little bit earlier. One of the bigger threats that we, hazards that we could have on this river, because there is some current for sure, are the logs, the log jams, and just, in whitewater terms, we talk about them as, as strainers to avoid. We as anglers are like, no, that's cover to fish, right? Yep. So we're drawn to those types of things. And, just for those of us that are fishing this, just be aware, keep your head on a swivel, and don't be complacent and turn your back on something and then realize that, hey, it's pushing you up against that strainer, and it, will flip you and you lose some gear, and,
absolutely
could be a threat to your life. So
absolutely.
I did want to touch on just briefly. Last weekend I was at the beach with my kid doing the boondock stuff. The weekend before, I was in Western North Carolina, and I earned ACA. I leveled up, is what they say. So I had level 1 instruction, as do you, Drew. But I did what I needed to do for earning level 3 ACA certification as a river kayak instructor. I'd done level 2 before, back in 2001, and that was the basis of all the classes I did for about 10 years. And a lot of those paddling skills for kayak anglers are in the first video I did, which is River Kayak Fishing Skills DVDs. That DVD, it has some dated information, but there's still a lot of good info in there that is still applicable. I'm going to be doing a refresher series of videos that really shows some of the more advanced whitewater skills as it relates to kayak anglers. When I got the certification, I was absolutely not in a fishing kayak. And one of the things I had to do was roll. And I did it to check off the box to get my certification and to be able to teach on class 2 plus whitewater. Am I going to be doing that? Yeah, I'll probably run some classes here and there. But the biggest thing I want to do is to do videos with, a 360 camera straight above me that shows the top down of what I'm doing with each paddle stroke, one right off the bow of the kayak that points back, that shows that, hey, I lean into the turn. And to really illustrate and teach, why is it important that we can peel out of an eddy? Why is it important that we understand the physics and concepts of ferrying, and more advanced things like bow draw strokes, which really stabilize you when you're making that quick turn to grab an eddy, to be able to plant your paddle blade out in front and draw it in, and it just turns you real quick. These are important skills from the standpoint of getting your boat to the position you need to make the cast, but also safety and navigation. A lot of times we explore these rivers and we come down on a spot and we look at it and we're like, that's a horizon, which means it's going to straight drop. That's big whitewater that I don't know. It looks like there's a rock in the middle of it. I can go over to this side and there's like this gravel glide sneak route or whatever. You only get to make those decisions if you're good at a maneuver called back ferrying, which is you're paddling backwards, but you're sliding backwards across laterally so that you can see and assess what you're doing.
Give you some time.
Skill sets like back ferrying are critical for the type of river kayak fishing that we do. And once this event is over, I think I'm probably going to spend some time up on the river with the cameras and just do more of those whitewater kayak fishing skills in video format. That does not take the place of working with an actual instructor, though, because an actual instructor is going to see what you do and give you real-time feedback on, hey, am I doing this right? But that's something that, you know, for sure has inspired me earning that certification, which was, it was hard. It was a difficult thing. It was fun. It was physically difficult and mentally as well. I was being assessed as an instructor, like, hey, is he reading students and setting up drills in the right way that they're going to learn? And, you know, I'm proud of it, because the first time I did it at 20, how old was I? 22. Like, I didn't get level 3. I didn't get level 3 back then. I got it this time. So
that's cool, man. That's good stuff for sure. People, you know, especially in the Kayak Adventure series, where you can kind of fish in all the above kind of waters, you know, rivers, creeks, some situations that might have some class 1s, 2s, or 3s. It's important, you know, and can help you, you know, get that extra fish you might need, or win the tournament or whatever. But and obviously save your life. That's the most important thing. So that's cool that you've got that, and we'll keep us up to date on when classes might be. And of course, we'll share any videos you make on that. Of course.
I also learned that, like, what a whitewater guy calls a class 2 and what a kayak angler calls a class 2 are just totally different. Like,
that's very true.
Most people that are fishing it, they're like, oh, it's a really solid class 2. And the whitewater people are like, no, it's a 1.
Yeah, it's like nothing. Yeah. Well, as we leave here, guys, I will say and remind you, because next week's Wednesday is tournament week, so it's more about the need to know. It's a quick little informational need to know. I will say that I'm going to try to do that potentially at Vintage Brewing. We're going to try to have an opening, like a Wednesday welcome dinner, and throw this into the schedule for people who are already in town that want to come. I mean, there might be 10 people that show up, might be 20. I don't know. But we're going to go to Vintage Brewing. The same place will be the next day. And we're just going to have a little dinner there, 7 p.m. So we'll see you there if you want to show up to that optional welcome dinner, hang out, just so everyone knows that that's where everyone's going on Wednesday if you want to. And then you already know the lay of the land and the menu and what's good, what's not good, what beer's good, which one is better, whatever you want to order the next day for opening ceremonies. So should be a fun time. So join us there on Wednesday for that welcome dinner. And still some time to get registered to get one of the 50 welcome bags. The first 50 anglers get their gift bag worth $100 of sponsors products. So still some time. I don't know. We have almost 30 people, I think, signed up. So should be a good turnout. Looking forward to that. And any last comments there, Jake or Jeff, before we end this one?
No, I think we covered a lot. This is a pretty in-depth episode.
It was. And we didn't even pull up the actual poem for Broodmaster, did we? Or did we do that last week, the week before? I don't think we did. But we'll do that next time. But you did show him off.
There he is. I got him on speed dial.
Yeah, there you go. We will tell you guys more about Broodmaster on the next one.
I want to get him actually made.
Yeah,
like a
actual action figure made. That'd be cool.
Like how hard that would be.
I don't know, man. Can you get one of those Nacho Libres in the background made too? Like, so the guys.
Oh yeah, those guys in the background.
It's like Magneto and like bootleg Spider-Man or something.
Yeah, bootleg Spider-Man. I like it.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, guys. Well, let's end this one. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll see you at the next one. And we'll see you in Wisconsin, which is where we'll be. So good luck to everyone fishing the event. And during your pre-fishing time, have fun. Stay safe. And catch you later.
See you guys.
See you.